Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for a Thanksgiving Thursday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. The Lakers mount a furious fourth quarter comeback against the Mavericks and fall short. We discuss next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcast. It's always going to be free. It is never going to be behind a paywall. And Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with 22,000 or so subscribers to a channel, all of whom are hopefully enjoying a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday with family and friends in whatever way that you are able, and using turkey, Andy, and food to get rid of the feeling that came after this game on Wednesday, because, oh man alive, this was frustrating. The Lakers lose to the Dallas Mavericks 104-101, the final score, mounting a furious fourth quarter comeback, actually taking the lead against Dallas. How much were they down? What was the most they were?
They were down 20 to begin the fourth quarter. They were down 20. This was not even, Brian, like a proverbial fake comeback, because once you regain the lead, that is an actual comeback.
You've come back.
Well, this was in certain ways worse, because this was an actual comeback that you just botched down the stretch and couldn't come through. This wasn't even teasing what really can't happen in the first place. You're just getting fans excited about something that isn't going to happen. This could have actually happened, but it didn't.
Lakers had the Dallas, just to put things in perspective, Dallas had a win, ESPN, a lot of places now, they'll do like the percentage likelihood of winning tracker as the game goes along, whatever. With 59 seconds left in the third quarter, Dallas went up 91-71. They had a 99.2% chance, probability wise, of winning the game. The Lakers, though, with a minute 16 left, they go up 2. Now they have a 63% chance of winning. To your point, Andy, the odds, as they might say in those Hunger Games movies, were in their favor. And at that point, you didn't mount a great comeback and, whatever, you blew a lead. Like it was hard. It wasn't a big lead and all that stuff, but they missed free throws down the stretch. LeBron James had a really bad turnover through a bad pass in the Lakers' best, last full possession.
The only
to try to win. I mean, there were a lot of mistakes that you start to look at and say things that overshadow this big fourth quarter comeback where the Lakers outscored Dallas 30-13 and needed to outscore them 30-10 at least to push the game into overtime.
Yeah. By the way, that turnover, LeBron trying to go over the top to Anthony Davis, he's getting fronted by Rashawn Holmes, and he's got Luke on the backside. And this really was a pass that had to be absolutely perfect. It was not. LeBron likened it afterwards to a quarterback who didn't properly lead his receiver and left it short and got picked off. That was the only turnover for the Lakers in that fourth quarter. It was also the only sort of like fitting in terms of the hole that you put yourself in and how the little things can add up. It was the only turnover of the fourth quarter.
Yep.
Dallas, as bad as they played, you always give yourself an opportunity through little things that can turn out to be big. They did not turn the ball over at all in that fourth quarter. And between that and the cushion that they had heading into this fourth quarter up 20, they could survive being held to 16% from the field, 1 of 10 from behind the arc, and getting out rebounded 14-10 in this game. Like in that quarter, they were outplayed badly by the Lakers, except like you said, that free throw discrepancy really came back to bite them in the ass, missing, I believe it was 5 free throws in the fourth quarter. And yeah, they were 1 of 6 at the line in the fourth quarter. That and that turnover.
Four of those coming, Andy, in the last 4.5 minutes of the game. Jackson Hayes missed 2, and LeBron missed 2. And it's just, look, it's as if they get together before the game starts and say, guys, what would be the most impractical way to try to win tonight's game? How about we put ourselves in a situation where we're down 20 going into the fourth quarter, and we have to hold Luka and Kyrie led offense to like 8 points,
13
What if
points.
we try that? What if we think that, like, that's really impractical? Why don't we? Is that the most impractical way? Well, it's pretty close. Let's try that. And like, Dallas did not have a field goal in the fourth quarter until close to 4 minutes left but eventually, and then you leave yourself with zero margin for error. Eventually they're going to score. And then after a run of a lot of good plays, especially defensively, the team as a team, Austin Reaves made the mistake with the Lakers up 2. I mentioned they were up 2 with a 66% chance of winning. Austin Reaves sank too low to help and gave too much space for Kyrie to have a clean look at 3. It was a defensive mistake.
The only thing that can beat you at that point.
It was bad play. And, but you leave yourself in a position where any mistake that the other team can take advantage of hurts you. It's just, Darvin after the game, and we'll get into some of the particulars, and we'll get into the Lakers missed a ton of shots at the beginning of the game. They were engaged and just missed a lot of shots. It was ridiculous. But Darvin after the game talked about the spirit of the team and the fight and how, this game shows that they're coming back and all this. So there are nights when that lands, and I feel like, okay, spirit, go team. There are also nights when it doesn't land. And for me, at least, it did not land on Wednesday night to hear about the spirit and the fight of the Lakers.
It's not, get more into it probably after the break, but it's not even, I'll talk about it, just the way what Darvin said, it's how he framed it. Mm-hmm. But just to like sort of put a button on what you were talking about with Reaves, that mistake down the stretch, and LeBron, that turnover. LeBron and Reaves were fantastic.
Yes, they were.
Quarter. Like, they were both really the engine that led to them getting back into this game. Like, there were some other good moments. Taurean Prince, who had a very good game, that certainly a good second half, that, let's just say, that dude needed badly. He had 5 points in the fourth quarter, including a really big 3 rebounds, which is like 4 games worth of rebounding for Taurean Prince, plus an assist. Like, he was hustling all over the place. Like, he had a very good game that he, quite frankly, really needed. Jackson Hayes got some surprising moments in the fourth quarter, like a long run that I remember when Rui Hachimura began the fourth quarter and the Lakers were starting to get into it. Jackson Hayes was on the floor. AD got put back in the game. I thought AD was coming in for Hayes, and it turned out he was coming in for Rui, and which was unusual. And then I thought, okay, maybe this is just about, having Hayes there as a second body for rebounding, because Lakers have been, stop me if you heard of this before, getting killed on the glass. And that really wasn't it either. Like, Hayes was actually out a lot defensively in space. I think they were just looking for more length to bother the Mavericks offense at the outset, just trying to muck up the execution. It was working. Like, it was a really interesting move by Darvin that I will admit I did not see coming, but I thought played really well. Yeah. Like, there was so much that you could get into in this fourth quarter, but then those mistakes become magnified. And then talk about it next. Darvin, the way he framed this takeaway I think if you're a fan, you're going to be irritated, and I do not blame you.
All right, so we'll get into that, and this loss hurts, I think, in ways as the Lakers head out on a tough road trip that may become apparent in a week or 10 days. We'll talk about all this stuff next. All right, so Darvin was asked after the game about lessons. And this is a common thing that reporters will ask. What are you taking from it? And there are a lot of ways, I guess, to interpret it. But he was asked about what lessons you take, and that's when he, what lessons you can learn from. You've learned from this game, and that's when he went into the fight, the don't give up on games, we fight to the end, we show spirit, show heart, and all that kind of. That's what prompted that.
Yeah, I've got the exact quotes. He was talking about how this is something he's preached ever since taking over as head coach for the Lakers, that it's not just about wins and losses, it's wisdom and lessons. He said, quote, "We got a lesson. The way they buckled down in the fourth quarter, fought back, gave ourselves a chance. That's what you draw from that game. That's what you draw from it." And I'm sorry. And, we both like a lot of what Darvin does in terms of instilling fight with this team, in terms of being a player's coach, I think, with an attitude that often brings out the best with this team in terms of resolve. And we've both given Darvin a lot of credit for this because we think it's important. But I'm sorry, that should not be the lesson from this game, because we've already seen time and time that they will do this. Like, it's great, but it's nothing new that this team should learn from it. Like, the lesson should be, stop allowing yourself these bad first halves. Stop digging yourself holes. Stop coming out flat to begin a third quarter. Stop waiting for three quarters to start getting long rebounds and loose balls and actually hanging on to the ball when you grab it. Like, LeBron even seemed to disagree with that assessment. Like, he was asked about the team's ability to come back and make pushes, because we've seen that. And LeBron said, quote, "It's not ideal. It's good to have it, but it's not ideal."
But like, I'm sorry, we know about it.
It's not a lesson.
It's not, and it's not an unknown. We've had evidence even before the Russ trade helped make the team good again. They still played hard. Like, they didn't quit on games, but they had plenty of fake comebacks. They had a lot of, like, they would play
they weren't good
games. That was actually one of the things that allowed them. Was like, Darvin had everyone still buying in and still playing hard and still doing all that, like, and they wouldn't quit on games. I know that. I knew that they've had games like that in the season. And so, like, and I'd have to go back and look again at the first quarter, like where they missed so many makeable shots, which is, I don't know what that is. Is it bad luck? Is it focus? But I go back and look at it and we'll see. Although I don't know if that's how I want to spend my Thanksgiving. I'm pretty sure it isn't.
It certainly shouldn't have been too tired from second end of a back-to-back.
No. I'm not chalking it up. I'm not chalking it up to fatigue. But here's the thing about it. Like, we have, I think, correctly noted that going into this game at 9-6, especially given all the injuries they've had and the inconsistency in the lineup, at 9-6, the Lakers had not done anything to hurt themselves. And I think that is 100% true. What a game like this, though, reinforces is they've also done very little to help themselves. And Dallas is what they were 9-5. Lakers were 9-6. Dallas played, generally speaking, very well through the beginning of the season. And when Kyrie's been in the lineup, they've been a pretty good team, and all of that stuff. So again, it's another one of those. You didn't lose to a bad team. You lost by 2 to a good team, or 3 to a good team. This is on your home floor. You're up by 2 with a minute to go. You're about to go on the road for a very difficult road trip. Aside from what should be a chippy against Detroit, like, this is a hard road trip. Entering this stretch of games at 10-6, as opposed to 9-7 is significant and gives you breathing room. And you start, other than I guess like the Phoenix game where they came back and took that one. Maybe there's another one in there I'm forgetting. They haven't won a lot of these, like, okay, it's a tough game, but you ought to win type ones. They haven't helped themselves with a win like that. This would have been enough. And at some points,
they're 3-2 in 3-point.
That will hurt them.
They're 3-2 so far this season in 3-point games, but I have to imagine there aren't many wins other than, I guess, Phoenix, depending on what you think of them, in tight games against teams that you really respect. You know what I mean?
Right,
and
this is on your home floor, and you're up by 2. You've made the comeback. You're up by 2. It's not a catastrophe to lose. It's not like losing to Portland or something like that's a bad team. You know what? This is a good team, but you still got to beat good teams, and you can't keep leaving games like this on the table. Eventually, we were saying before, like they haven't hurt themselves. Eventually, you do. Eventually, not winning these games starts to hurt, and it hurts in the context of we're about to go on the road. And got a couple. There's at least one difficult back-to-back on this trip. It's like, and you don't leave yourself with nearly the wiggle room when you kind of shoot yourself in the foot in games like this.
Well, it's also too. It's not just losing these games because, like you said, Dallas is a team that, in a vacuum, if you lose to them, it's not necessarily anything to be ashamed of. The problem is they keep losing games for the exact same reason at almost every single time. It's like you come out either flat or not executing, not whatever the reason you want to say, and you are behind either in the first quarter, in the first half. You don't come out with the requisite energy automatically in the third quarter. You get beat on the boards. You get beat on 50-50 balls. Like the 3-point shots aren't falling. And that might be the one thing you can't fully control. But some of these other things, transition defense, the execution there.
The 3-point shot in the first half, especially, the Lakers were playing uphill. And it started to even out a little bit, in the second, although Dallas still ends up with, +5 from 3. But like the Lakers' inability to hit a 3-pointer, like is pressure on the offense and stuff like that. All that stuff. To your point, I've seen things we've seen in the movie before.
At some point, you need to address at least half of these things. Like we talked heading into this season that we didn't think this team necessarily projected to be great on the glass. And especially until they get Jared Vanderbilt back, I think they're really going to have issues on the glass. But they can be better than this. And if nothing else, they can do a better job of hanging on to the loose balls, the long rebounds that they get to. Like there are too many that they get to and slip out of their hands, or guys run into each other, like stuff like that. Those are things you can control. Or if nothing else, you need to show some type of evidence that you are, I don't know, working harder to make it happen, like focusing on it more.
Yeah. This was the most annoying game played all year.
It was really irritating.
I finished this game, and even honestly, even when I thought they were going to win, and once they got up 2, I was like, they're going to win this game. And like, because Dallas, because I know what they're thinking in Dallas. Are okay, we're gonna, like, this is kind of what we do. We're not over the last few seasons, we figure out ways to screw up games on the road against the Lakers. We're up by 20, and they just sort of the vibe of the Kyrie Luka pairing, just off. I was like, they're gonna win this game, and they're not going to really deserve to win the game, but they're going to win it anyway. Dallas is going to let them do it. It was like was it the Philadelphia game last year where the Sixers kept trying to let the Lakers win in one of these big comebacks, in game going into overtime, all these other things. And like the Sixers kept trying to let the Lakers win, and they just wouldn't do it. That's what this felt like. And even if they had won, I would have been like, you know what? They stole one. It's great going to the road trip and all that, but it doesn't, like, there's nothing blueprinty about this. Like, you don't learn anything about it, because the odds of being able to replicate something like this against any team, let alone one as good offensively as the Mavericks, is basically zero. I got a couple questions for you about Max Christie and some other things we saw, and whether or not the Lakers should have called timeout on that play. Their last full possession, the one where LeBron missed AD, turned the ball over. Curious to your thoughts about that. A lot of people thought Darvin should have called timeout. We'll get into it next. Max Christie started for Cam Reddish, who missed the game. The Lakers announced, it was really, I think, Tuesday, that he wasn't going to be playing. What'd you think of how Christie did?
I thought he was fine. Thought he was solid. It's a tough game for him. Like, he was not necessarily the primary guy on Luka or Kyrie, but you're going to be having to keep track of those two guys a lot. I thought it was a game where they could have used Cam Reddish just as one more point of attack active defender, which is a sentence I did not expect to say heading into this season, but credit to Reddish for making me miss him when he's out. I thought Christie was fine. I'll be honest, in the grand scheme of everything that was either irritating or wrong or problematic, however you want to put it, with this game, Christie landed pretty low on the list to me. I felt like he was neither the solution nor the problem. Christie was low on my list, frankly, of even takeaways. I thought he was just fine, but there was a lot more that needed to happen than whatever Christie was going to be providing or didn't provide in this game.
It's interesting. Like, we talked the other day. We had that long last week. If you missed it,
had a hell of a dunk.
That was pretty good. It should have been and one.
Yes, it should have been.
But he hit a three early. He was a minus 19 in 23 minutes, but he didn't play late in the fourth when the Lakers were actually making. So anybody who didn't play as part of that fourth quarter comeback is going deep underwater.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's just the nature of it. So I'm not dinging him necessarily for that.
Hayes was
interesting.
The flip side of it, Hayes was +7 in that, largely because he was out on the floor.
Right. That's it. He only played 11 minutes, and a lot of them were at the end. So he was at the right place, right time. So, we had that episode in the Everydayers, remember it, where we're talking about Austin Reaves and the perception of him from a media standpoint, whether or not he gets the appropriate amount of criticism, especially for his inconsistent play over the course of the season overall, though it is definitely trending in the right direction. He played overall, the mistake against Kyrie late aside, 17, 6, and 6 absolutely was a catalyst for that comeback late. Played pretty well.
Particularly the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
The fourth quarter
had strong fourth quarters of late, which is one of the things they want from him. But it's like, where is the bar appropriately set for Christie? Where was it set perhaps a little bit too high? Do we move the goalposts on him? This, that. There's a little bit of, I think, that with Christie, and especially with guys who are still haven't played enough to really give you an idea of what they are. And Christie's got preseason minutes, and he's got some encouraging moments last year when expectations were really low. And then, he had higher expectations in summer league, but it's still summer league and preseason and whatever. And we're still, at least I think a lot of people are in that, assigning Max Christie attributes and, the ability to contribute that he hasn't quite shown consistently. And today's game to me, Wednesday's game to me, was a reminder that it's going to take some time before Christie lands and goes oh damn, here's this guy contributing, he can play 23 minutes, and you're yeah, he's there, you feel that he's there. And to some degree, I think the Reaves ascension, I don't want to say it hurts Christie or but like we're in a space now where we kind of expect undrafted free agents or second round picks to kind of be good right away.
I got to be honest. I don't really see
just something I thought about,
way.
but I think generally the first point I was making though is that we don't yet know how good or how ready he is to contribute ever, but also too we just have to remember, even if he is capable of playing more, and I think he is, it's not a linear path to like straight improvement for Christie. And I don't think you want to be in a position where you really have to rely on him yet. I think you want to let him earn that place and earn those minutes among competition. I don't think he hurt him on Wednesday.
I mean,
but it was one of those things where I think people want him to land and make this huge impact because there is so much interest and excitement about his potential.
Okay.
That makes sense.
I guess, again, he's playing because 3 or 4 guys are hurt that would roughly get his minutes. So the idea that he has to earn it through competition, that is what was happening. They ran out of dudes.
Right. I just think, there's still a lot. I mean, there are people who, and I was confused at the beginning of the season, and Reddish, his play made me less worried about it. But there were a lot of people who were upset that he wasn't playing at the beginning of the year. And
sure, I mean, but that was also before Cam Reddish really started playing at this level. And again, Christie.
It also, but my point is, it may also be that the coaching staff sees things about his readiness.
I don't think this game is really indicative of it. If that was the case, again, I think he was low on the list of issues that are happening in this game.
Sure. The other thing I wanted to ask you about was the timeout. A lot of people critical of Darvin. About 20 seconds left. The Lakers are down after the Kyrie 3, down by a point. Darvin, as he generally does, chooses not to call timeout and let the flow of play go. The Lakers end up turning the ball over. LeBron throwing a bad pass, as LeBron said, left it short. Didn't give his receiver a chance to get that ball. Do you have a problem with Darvin not calling timeout there?
Not really. I mean, he talked about it afterwards. He prefers the idea of just not allowing a defense to get set, not allowing Jason Kidd or another coach to potentially put in some better defensive players for that final stop, depending on who's out there. I mean, really, if you want to take a look, I mean, beyond the fact that LeBron botched that pass to AD, it was very, frankly, out of character for what they were doing in the fourth quarter. Like going low
they
to
threw
AD.
The ball to him.
Right. I mean, and it was interesting. Robert Horry and James Worthy were talking after the game on Spectrum Sportsnet post-game show about how AD needed to be more involved in the fourth quarter, and they were upset that AD said like he needs to either be demanding the ball.
I don't even think we mentioned this. He didn't score in the second half.
No, he did not. And he hit the glass really hard, but this was not a game where the offense was really there for AD at all. And that like AD needs to demand the ball, or Darvin needs to demand that AD get the ball. And 5,000 foot view, I agree with this. In this particular game, I didn't necessarily have a problem with it because you're trying to come back from 20 points. It's difficult to do that going down low with anybody who isn't basically like Shaq. Like it's really difficult in today's NBA. That is very difficult to make up that type of deficit, especially when you don't go into the quarter thinking we're going to hold Dallas to 16% from the field and 10% from behind the arc. You're counting on Kyrie and Luka to at least make a few threes. You know what I mean? Like the math doesn't really work in your favor. If anything, I thought they may have messed up trying to go to AD on that final play because it was completely out of character. And honestly, I didn't even think they got that three happy in the fourth quarter. I don't think it didn't feel to me like LeBron had one heat check three that I did not love. But for the most part, it's about an even split of 2-point and 3-point field goals. And I thought most of the shots they took were actually pretty good. My biggest complaint was where the hell was this during the first three quarters?
Yeah, I don't mind. it's like fouling when you're up 2, or you're up 3 or whatever it is. Like, what are you going to do? Like, how do you make that decision? There are pros and cons of all of it. I think Darvin's general feeling of when you have LeBron is going to generally outthink and think faster than a defense that is in motion.
Yeah.
I think Reaves, particularly of late, has started to make much better decisions with the ball and has shown himself capable there. Like, I don't have a problem with saying, you guys go do it. I wouldn't have minded one of those guys when LeBron kind of got stuck a little bit. He is LeBron. He saw what he saw. Maybe a better pass gets to AD, but I think you mentioned this earlier in the show, would have had to be perfect.
Yes. You're threading the needle with Holmes fronting, Luka from behind, like,
and 10 seconds left in the game.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like there was more time to either be like, okay, not that Darvin, and I don't love, once the play is going and LeBron's got the ball, I don't know if a lot of coaches are going to call timeout there. Because like LeBron's got the ball and you're like sort of waiting. You're expecting him to do something good with it, but they botched it and they missed 4 free throws. And like that was the end of a series of offensive mistakes that kind of cost them this game. And then the big defensive one with Reaves, because the other shot, like Luka hit a really tough bank shot. Like there is no defense for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I hope this doesn't ruin everybody's Thanksgiving. The Lakers next play in Cleveland on Saturday. They could catch a break in that Donovan Mitchell has been nursing a hamstring injury and did not play Wednesday and may not play on Saturday. The Cavs actually have a bunch of injuries, so Lakers might catch a break. We'll see. But Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go to hang out with about 22,000 subscribers and talk about this game and that game as well. We will try to bring you something from that game afterwards. So make sure you're checking back on Saturday and Sunday. We will see everybody probably after the Philly game. We're not going to record
the Cleveland game.
So everybody have a great holiday.